Hey Internet, it's RJ. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning into this show today. Now we get ready to move into Q4 of this year, but before we close out September, we must, as always, answer our Q&A. We do it once a month. The ruler goes up. Folks drop their questions down below. We've got anything from some real estate questions. We've got my favorite sleeper credit cards. We're also talking about apparently someone on the New Orleans trip struck out with all the ladies. Couldn't have been me. Definitely couldn't have been me. That doesn't seem par for the show. And, we'll even see how many people we can offend this month. It should be a great time. So, of course, chapters tool down below. Feel free to hop around as you see fit. But, of course, go ahead, press the subscribe button, and let's get to work. So, batting leadoff here. Average Joe says, thanks for last month's answer. Of course, the AAA card is a sleeper question. Also not a fan of Wells Fargo. So, do you have any other suggestions? Suggestions for what, though, is kind of the thing. So AAA, we'll start with that. Yes, the AAA cards are absolute positive sleepers. They might be the biggest sleeper card in the cashback game. I think the only people I've seen make videos on them is Adamant Proud Money, who accidentally applied for one, I think, if I remember that video correctly, and myself. Now, we're probably known for making videos on the random cards out there, but I think, yes. So one, the Daily Advantage, which is the one that I got, gives you 5x back groceries up to 10 grand a year. It's mixed with some other categories, but that's what I use it for. There's also like wholesale clubs in there with 3% back, which doesn't really help a single guy who lives alone, but could help a lot of people. The other one gives you 5x in gas and EV charging up to I don't think it's 10 grand a year, but I think it's close. So yes, 100% sleeper cards. You can have one or the other. You can't have both. I don't even think you can product change to one once you pick one. But $100 intro offers, they just don't get talked about a lot. But I have the card, so I'm a full supporter of it. I use the card. I've also, the Daily Advantage, I'm also told, works at Walmart for 5% back if you do self-checkout. You have to do self-checkout from what I'm told, but it works, which is astounding because Walmart is not really a grocery store. I went to a Walmart the other day, the majority of it is a super center with a section, maybe a quarter of it is grocery, at least the one with me. So yes, absolute sleeper cards. More people in cashback should get the AAA credit card for sure. Probably the groceries, because gas is fairly easy to find at 5x or 4x, I think. So I assume you're asking me about other sleeper cards then. I like Wells Fargo. That's fine if you don't. I understand why you wouldn't. I do. I think I'm much higher on them than most people on the internet, I think. Other sleeper cards, the two that I always go with are the Huntington Business Voice. 4x back on up to $7,000 to spend a quarter on a category of your choice, large range of categories, high spend amount, that's a good one. And then the PNC Cash Rewards, 4x back on gas up to $8 grand a year. There's some other categories mixed in there, but if you just focus them, I think those are sleeper cards that I would definitely take a look at if you don't want anything. Wells isn't really a sleeper, just I like their products and what they're doing. So those would be my three for sleepers. Start with the AAA card. I don't think you'd be sorry. Again, I picked it up myself. It's that good. All right, next up. As someone who just got into bank bonuses and credit card churning, what should I expect when it's time to file taxes? Is it a hassle? Well, welcome to the game. I was talking about Run on the Bank, our second channel, ProfitContent.com, where we focus on bank promotions. So now, how are you doing your taxes, really? So, last year I was supposed to have a guy do mine, but it kind of fell through. So I ended up doing my own. I used TurboTax. That's not a plug or anything. TurboTax, pretty easy for the most part. A lot of the 1099s, when they come in the mail, they don't send you the electronic version. I just take a picture of them and then drag and drop them over into TurboTax. And for the most part, it will read the majority of information on them. So it's really not that bad, in my opinion. What gets annoying isn't so much how many, if you're just dragging and dropping. It's really that some of them, for whatever reason, don't fill in all the information needed that TurboTax thinks is necessary. And there's still a level of guesswork that goes into it, which I think is a problem that the IRS needs to solve, because there are people trying to do their taxes correctly, and TurboTax and all the other ones probably draw a line saying we will not cross this line, but you're like, yeah, but I don't know what to put here, and everyone thinks they're right. It's not helpful. So, but that, you face that on any document. So as far as 1099s, it's just going to be a lot of 1099s, right? Now, the level that you want to commit to making sure that you have all of them is kind of up to you, right? Because banks have to issue them if it's $600 or more. If it's not $600, if it's less than $600, they can, but they don't have to. So if you really want to go through and get every single 1099, that's gonna be a hassle. Historically, what I've done, because I'm on TV talking about it, like I will compare what I have, what I've gotten, and then I'll just make another line item for the money that's not accounted for in 1099s, because it'd be really easy to go back and see what I did. Is that correct? I don't know. I doubt it, but that's what I do, because I'm not, unless they come and force me to call them all, like I'm not going to do that. But that's what I do. So it's kind of up to you how difficult it's going to be. But on face value, no, I don't think a bunch of 1099s is really that hard. It's just kind of time consuming, but it's not that bad. And I've been doing this for a few years now. So there you go. Last thing I would say, a lot of folks do tell me if you go to someplace like an H&R Block or something, they charge you per 1099. You're no longer in that space. You're either doing them yourself, or you're finding a tax person who has some kind of set fee, or however you want to work that out, because you can't pay per 1099 anymore. Let's put it like that. That's the one thing I will add. That you're writing yourself out of that, because it would just be too expensive. 50 accounts, if they all sent you 1099s, I don't know what they're charging for 1099, it would just be too much. So that is the one thing I will add that I've learned from other people. Good luck, though. M2K here. Is it worth spending on the Chase Inc. Limited cards as a catch-all card? So you're talking about the Chase Inc. Unlimited 1.5x? It's worth it until you can get a 2x card. Okay, like I would say, like, how into ultimate reward points are you? I guess is probably the question. Because like if you're a travel portal person and you're moving them to a Sapphire Reserve, then like that half a point you lose for using something like a double cash or an active cash, you'll make up for it probably in the bookings that you're getting going through the portal. If you're like, hey, I just really want Hyatt points, everyone has a massive love fest for Hyatt, then yeah, I think it's worth it. But if you're just cash back, then no, then the math is pretty simple. You're giving up half a point for no real benefit, right? So again, if you're under ultimate reward points, it could be you're going to have to do a little bit of calculus there to see what you're getting redemption wise and set per point if you care. There's also the convenience of it. If you're like, look, I like what Chase has to offer, I like all 1 points currency, that's also fine too. Factor in convenience. So like losing half a point in catch-all isn't the worst thing in the world. Over the course of a year, it's going to add up, but convenience is worth something. And if you like, again, travel and stuff like that, then I think you're fine. If you don't really care and you're going for the highest amount, you're playing cash back, well, then the answer, you got to get yourself a 2% card from Citi, Wells Fargo, whoever, PNC has one, and we're going to talk about it in a little while on the Bank Bonus Show. So that's how I would look at it. So ultimately for me, I would say no, it's not worth it. But again, I'm cash back and trying to get the best I can get. So I think we covered it. So it kind of just depends on what you're trying to go for there. Mr. Venture here. It's real nice of this guy to take time out of his busy day, making sure his hair is perfect to come and talk to us. I wonder if he wrote this in his Tesla. What do you think causes more of a hassle in the paperwork when buying a house? Applying for a lot of credit cards in a short amount of time, or opening a lot of bank accounts for bank bonuses in a short amount of time? I saw it gave you some issues recently, but was wondering in your opinion. So we did a video on how, like, the gist of, well, thank you for watching, sir. I do appreciate that. I've met him before, but in New Orleans. Nice guy. Wife also very cool. She's quoting Star Wars like a champ. She's a real champ. So good pairing, those two. Good people. But anyhow, to his question, so I actually kind of did both. So I did a video where, long story short, because I was moving banks so much, I didn't have... The bank wanted to see the history of the money, and eventually I had to close the bank account, and then they wouldn't give me a statement for it, which makes the bank nervous because, you're supposed to have the funds, like proof of funds, like 60 days, right, to make sure you just didn't get 60 grand from a mysterious source. I don't think it was 68 grand, but whatever, you get the point. To make sure the money didn't come from just random. They want to know where it came from. I also opened a credit card or two in between, leading up to it. The credit card was easy. Again, I use Rocket Mortgage, so it could be different anywhere you go. But for me, when I did the credit cards, what they do is they pull your credit report. A bank is like Capital One. They pull all 3 credit reports to make sure they get the full picture. Don't worry, you're nice enough to pay for it on their behalf. But there was a few that I ended up getting denied for. They can see the credit inquiry, right? But they know that sometimes it takes a while for the new account to report to the bureaus. So they gave me, it was a digital form, but they gave me like the 3 or 4 inquiries, and they said, hey, Did you open these? Yes or no? If yes, give us the account number and the balance that it was. If no, just put no and move on. Right? That was easy enough. The bank the moving the bank accounts was like a self-imposed headache. That one was far worse because for me it was far worse because your risk of like all this money you have for your down payment. They're like, well, we can't count that, right? But as far as a headache for people, I think now I'm still gonna go with the money because you could lose if you don't if they won't let you count like 20 or 30 grand, like that's gonna be a sizable hit. Like that's what hurt. The credit cards, I think they've learned to get around it. And really the only problem with the credit cards is gonna be, in my opinion, if it starts to really bring down your score. But when I did it, they weren't really concerned about the inquiries. And then I think in between getting my like verified approval letter, which is basically you go through underwriting and they say, yep, we will definitely give you this money. I actually applied for a Bank of America card and then actually put in the offer and moved through the process with no issues. All that to say, all of these are avoidable. If I would have just had the statement, though, it would have been a non-issue. So from that standpoint, so I guess I'm rambling here. So I guess I would say, for me personally, it was the bank account, not the credit cards that were issued. For a normal person, I would say it's probably going to be the credit cards if you're doing a ton of them and maybe having to explain that. Mine could have been taken care of if I could have gotten the document. So I think that helps answer it, I think, or I just made it worse. But either way, thanks for watching. Stupid good production here. I hope it's better than this production. For a checking bonus that requires X direct deposits and a minimum deposit amount, does the minimum amount have to be met by the direct deposits alone? Or, for example, can I make two direct deposits totaling $4,000 and transfer another $4,000 from a different checking account to meet the $8,000 minimum? I mean, so it'd be easier if I could pull up an example of this, right? So then you're saying that the bank's saying, hey, you need to hit two direct deposits each, but you also need to withhold in here a minimum amount of money for X amount of days. I think the answer would come down to, when does the timer start on that minimum, right? A lot of times, for these that require direct deposits, we have to leave money over there to avoid the fees. Usually it's one or the other. Give me a bunch of direct deposits or give me money for a long time. It's not usually both, but to answer your question, it would depend on when the timer starts. So for example, they could say within 30 days you have to have a minimum of $5,000 over here, right? And so if you could get $5,000 in direct deposits in 30 days, then yes, that should count fine. But if not, if it's going to take you longer to hit those direct deposits, then you'd want to have the money up there in front and then do the direct deposits and just make sure you don't, again, withdraw it underneath that minimum amount. So a little bit hard to answer, but I think I would say it's based on the timer that they give you. But deposits are deposits, right? Well, like all deposits are deposits, but all deposits are deposits, but not all deposits are direct deposits. There we go. That's what it is. A direct deposit is a form of depositing money, so it should count. But ACHing isn't always a direct deposit. I think I answered that, or maybe I made it worse. If you have a specific example, drop it down below, and I will definitely take a look at it. But that's how I'm interpreting the question and what the answer would be. It's going to be a lot based on when they start the timer, but deposit is a deposit. Here we go. Channel member, nice logo next to his name, Mr. Cashback here. Back at it again, RJ. Thanks for always for the show. My pleasure. Interesting one this month. If you could craft the perfect bank by taking parts from other banks, credit cards from Chase, customer service from U.S. Bank, relationship awards from, it's weird that she said U.S. Bank for customer service. Underwriting of Citibank accounts, BMO, what would it look like? You can only use every bank once. I mean, so I think I would go the devil may careness of Chase, meaning that, for the most part, yes, Chase has rules, but they don't really care, right? Like, you buy gift cards, whatever, we don't care. I would do that. I would pull preferred rewards from Bank of America, of course. That would be helpful to have. I mean, I don't know if I can get anything from Capital One. Like, they're kind of a pain all the way around, aren't they? Like, they're kind of tough. Well, no, I'll take Capital One's lounges, actually, because I think their lounges are they're the sweet spot, right? Centurion is like trying to do too much, in my opinion. I've been to a few of them. It's not really, it's trying to do too much, right? Capital One's a sweet spot. Like, yeah, it's a decent place to hang out. Here's some regular people food. Enjoy it, right? So I'd pull their lounges. Discover, believe it or not, for me has been good with customer service every time I've called so far. So I would take their customer service. If I have to take someone's credit card portfolio, Wells Fargo. I like Wells Fargo's credit cards. I know the guy up front in the first question is probably going to hate that, but I do like Wells Fargo's credit card lineup and what they're doing. That could be good. Something from US Bank. US Bank's lack of rules is helpful. I mean, like US Bank there's no like real uptight churning rules on US Bank. Their bankers are nice, so I hear. But there's that. Plus, they did change their deposit rules back to, the deposit bonuses back to every year, which is reasonable. I want something from Citi. I just don't know what. Do we want anything from Citi? We know what their name is. I feel like I have to take something from American Express or people are going to get mad at me. I guess you'd have to take the transfer partners from American Express is what I would take. I do like Delta. I do like Marriott. Hilton's fine. I know people like it. So I would take their transfer partners. What would I take from Citi? I like the custom cash, but like I already took the credit cards from Wells Fargo. So are we not taking anything from Citi? Like we might not be. I think I hit the major ones. Um, he said underwriting of Citi, but Citi denies me a lot. So like, I don't know about the underwriting of theirs. Bank accounts would be bank accounts would be a good one. Who's got the bank account? Good bank accounts. I mean, bank accounts. I think I'd almost just grab like an Ally for bank accounts. I like Ally's bank accounts. I use those. So I would use take theirs for sure. I think they're pretty good. I think we covered most of it. I think if I need a brokerage account, I'm probably taking something like Fidelity, I would think. But now we're getting out there. So I think we covered it. Credit cards from Wells Fargo, transfer partners from American Express, Chase's Devil May Care about how you use their products, Ally bank accounts, Discover customer service, U.S. Bank's approach to rules. I don't think Capital One's lounges. I don't think Citi helps me. Bank of America's preferred rewards. Fidelity for brokerages. I hear they're pretty good. I have a friend of the channel who just swears by them. I think that's. Let me know if I'm missing anything down below, but I think that's it. I mean, that could be like a whole video topic, honestly. That was a good question. That was tough. I think that's how I would do it. Jeremy sporting the Lions logo. Here we go. OG of the show. He has been here from the very beginning. It's true. I haven't posted a question in a while. It's okay. People have lives. I want to know, what is your strategy for Q4? Any new cards on the horizon or bank bonuses? The strategy is tough because I'm trying to sit tight and actually get together my 2025 strategy because it's never too early, right? So like going into 20, the thing on my head now is that U.S. Bank preferred rewards card. And to the last question, if U.S. Bank's version of preferred rewards would be more built out, I would have taken it over Bank of America's. But Bank of America's today is more built out, so should clarify that. But that 4% card for 100 grand is the top of mind right now. How do I get it? Applying is going to be the hard part. I can probably find $100,000 to move over there. It's not like my money. I'm pretty sure from what I've read, you can actually take my IRA at Merrill is like 190 something, so I can probably pull from that. And as long as I don't put it in my name, I just take a distribution and send it straight to U.S. Bank. I think I can do that, and then I could. In January, our yearly contributions reset. So if you make your new contributions over there, that could easily get me to 100. And then I just have to get the credit card. Of course, you got to open checking and savings too. So I'm keeping my eye out for a U.S. Bank promotion that I like. Right now, they're just a little bit low. There's not really a rush either. The high is 600, I think. We're only seeing like 450 right now. So that's top of mind. The other card's top of mind. I think I do want the autographed Journey card as a keeper. I really don't like paying annual fees, but it's probably as close as I'm going to get to a keeper travel card. The 4 and 5X flights, hotels, the credit is easy enough to use. The vast majority of protections that you want, again, getting approved is going to be very hard. So I don't think I'm going to, the only thing on my radar now would be like the business green to get done with Amex cards on the business side. Maybe I take a shot at the U.S. Bank 4% card, but I feel like the more time I can put between trying, the better. And there's not really a point to try until I have the money in place, anyways. And that could definitely help. If you go through a banker or something, that could definitely give them reason, like call Rico. Like, no, they do move to 100 grand. Like that could help. So Q4 probably gonna be pretty quiet. Bank bonuses. If everything paid out today, I would have just made it over $10,000, which is crazy because it feels like we've been just trying so hard to find any offer. But apparently, well, I was a lot closer than I thought. But you want to pad it because, again, a lot of these aren't going to pay out. Like we just talked about Opto, last week or two ago on the bank bonus channel. And I do have documentation that they're going to pay out the original offer to me. That has like hassle written all over it. So you want to pad a little bit. So the number is really more like 11,000, and then some of them, unfortunately, for whatever reason, aren't going to work. I mean, on tap is already like hasn't paid anyone yet. So, but we're on track. So I'm gonna keep doing that. And then I think I'm going to try to build out a 2025 strategy, which is probably backloading applications. How I went hard in the beginning of the year. I think I will just try to give it as much time as I can, see if I can get my U.S. Bank, my Wells Fargo card, and then go back at it. I guess that would be tentatively what I'm thinking. But when I know for sure, this will probably be a whole topic. So thank you, sir, for writing in. Always a pleasure. He's the one who provides the majority of the news stories, and we thank him for his service, of course, because why do my job when he's nice enough to do it for me? I'm kidding. All right, 39 here. 2 questions. Any new watches recently, and any fun stories of your days as a skilled salesman? I got a few stories, not watches. As far as I'm committed to the black and gray GMT, the Bruce Wayne, as they're calling it. I went to the dealer when it came out, and I, put my name on the list. Who knows what that means, right? Like I bought this Sea Dweller from them in like 2018 or 2019. I've had 2 watches serviced through them. That's what my portfolio is with them. So I am a very insignificant customer to them. Do I think I can get one? Yes. Do I think it's going to take probably 3 years? Yes. Because if you look at it, one, it's not even the most popular GMT in the It's popular now because it's new and it's the only steel watch Rolex put out this year. But the Pepsi is still the king. I would still say Batman above that. The root beer is a nice looking watch, and at least has historical provenance to it. There's the Sprite, and then this is probably somewhere in between the Batman and the root beer, I would say. So maybe the 3rd most popular GMT in the lineup. So sure people will want it. It also looks so similar to the original black one, which, funny enough, I did own and ended up selling when I got the Sky Dweller. That I think a lot of people will be like, I mean, I've got the black one. Do I really want a black and gray one? There's like not that much of a difference. So, you feed the big dogs first, and friends and family. Then, I think they start going down the list of people, and eventually you're just hoping for 3-4 people in front of you who've moved on, forgot about it, or whatever, and your name gets called. So I do think I'll get one, but that's the only one I'm after. I think if I don't have one by the time I hit 100,000 subscribers, I'll just buy it. But they won't be 20 grand forever. They'll eventually come back down. But with 100,000, you're probably talking about, again, 3 or 4 more years. So that's my guess. But I don't have anything on the radar other than that. Fun stories, yes, in rapid fire succession. So I did sell candy all through high school. A few good stories were one. It was like a track team fundraiser, but the coach was like, no one wanted to sell candy, so he's like, he got approval from the school, made the boxes, got the candy. He would pay us $10 a box, and we sold. So like 20 pay for materials, 10 to the team, 10 to yourself. I think I made like $1,000 a year selling candy. When I used to sell Sour Patch Kids, kids would like snort the sugar for some reason. They thought it was hilarious. It's like, whatever, great. It was funny to see. At one point, I took my dad's Sam's Club card, or he would take me to Sam's Club, because his picture's on the card, and I would buy candy from Sam's Club and then put it in the school approved box and sell that. So I got all the money. Eventually, they caught on to that and they told me to stop doing that. And then I know the best story was one time kids were trying to pass like counterfeit money. I think I ended up getting a fake 20, and then I went back to the dude. Like he was I don't remember how it got to the school's attention, but you're like, how would you end up taking a fake 20? Like when you're in the hallway selling candy, what kids love to do is come in and just shove their hand in the box and try to grab stuff. So you're not really paying attention as closely as you should be. So I knew who it was and who it came from. And so he was like, I'll actually bring you, a real 20, like no big deal. It's like, okay, and he did. But somewhere between then and how it got picked up by the school, and he had to go talk to like the school cop. We would talk to him, and then we couldn't sell candy for a while. It turns out these kids were running counterfeit bills through like the cafeteria and stuff like that. So it was a whole thing. And I was the candy salesman who ended up getting the fake 20. So it got sorted out in the end, and we could sell again. But that was probably the one story that if I were going to pick one, that's the one I tell people. Is like, yeah, we had a whole counterfeit ring going. Not that from us, it just we just got involved in it. Of course, you want to, give them the money, then you've got real cash. You know how it works, right? So that's probably the best candy salesman story. All right, Jimmy James here. Where in Michigan would you recommend some should visit? Oh, dude, I have no idea. Some Clifford says Upper. I've never been to the Upper Peninsula. I forget that thing's up there, right? I forget it's up there. I think you schedule it around. I mean, if you're an outdoors person and there's a bunch of stuff to do, like the Upper Peninsula would be great. I've never been. People love Mackinac Island. It's like this weird island, I think, in between the two peninsulas. And like, I don't think you can drive a car there, but they're known for their fudge. I don't really care for like sweets and stuff, but I've never been there. People swear by it. So that would be a good check out if you're, look it up and see if you're into it. But that one gets a usually strong rec. If you're closer to civilization, then you're probably looking at like sporting events. You want to go to, we've got all the stadiums down here, Big Ten countries over here a little bit. There's some museums, the Henry Ford Museum's decent, Greenfield Village, that kind of thing. What else? I mean, you can go out on like the Detroit River. I don't know if you're like into fishing or, they have tours. I don't know what tour they take you on, but there's also park, like Belle Isle's a decent place. People claim they like to go. I've been once or twice. It's outdoors and really care for that. We're close to Cedar Point, which is technically in Ohio, but if you like roller coasters, we're close to Cedar Point. That's like maybe an hour from where I'm at. That could be a good time. So just come through, man. Just give me a shout. We'll get you on the show and we'll do something. We're not doing it outside. I'm not hanging out with you if you go outside, but we do something like that, I guess. And we go to a bank maybe and just hang out, see if they let us in. Those would be my top places that I've heard. I don't think we're like a massive tourist destination. Coming in the fall, like September, the auto show. I mean, the auto show is usually a good time. You got to have more to do than just go to the auto show, but it would be a good place to stop in for a little bit. They don't do, when they did it in January, it used to suck. Because I used to work like within walking distance, so we would go over there, but like it sucks. So now it's like in September, early October, and it's like inside and outside. Outside, I can do outside civilization, not outside wilderness. So the auto show could also be a good thing to time if you're into that sort of thing as well. Badger here, no question. Just wanted to say that we love you, RJ. Well, I appreciate that. We made a lot of people upset on the last one because I answer every question, but apparently we didn't shake everyone, so I appreciate that. I love you too, brother. Curmudgeon here. Hey RJ, how is using Chase for a main checking account? I always hear horror stories about account closures. Are they as twitchy as some say? 100% don't do it. So you got to understand something. There's a lot of times they're like, do as I say, not as I do. So I have a Chase checking account. It's also my oldest checking account. And once that account is seasoned, their algorithm and computers a little more understanding, I think. Case in point, when we had, who was it? We had that credit union. I forget the name. I did a whole video on it. It's called like the nicest credit union to ever kick me out, right? Somewhere in Louisiana. Anyhow, they sent us checks for like refunds, and I deposited, and Chase actually gave me the $500 early, which they normally don't. And then because normally they place check holds on stuff, which is well within their right. And then that check they frozen or canceled, and they clawed back the money. Like that would have been an instant shutdown for a lot of brand new Chase accounts, and even mildly new Chase accounts. I believe I didn't get shut down and they get restricted or anything because the account was so old. Honestly, Chase, if you go on Reddit or something, you're looking up people getting locked out and shut down of new accounts, it's gonna be Chase. I'm not saying it doesn't happen anywhere else. Chase has a twitchy trigger finger, as you said. So I keep my Chase account because it's so old and I've built up that rapport with their robot, I guess you could say. But even then, there's limits. I really don't do too much transferring from that Chase account. That Chase account is really for what I pay bills with. All the mortgages come out of there. My credit card payments come out of there. My direct deposit's not going anywhere. It goes there. So I don't keep the balance too high, but it's like my personal operating account. Um, Product wise, I think it's fine. I like the user interface. Chase is one of my top user interfaces. I like the app. I like that Chase banks are everywhere. I do need cash. I do write checks on occasion. It's just easier to know where a branch is. I can use the debit card in Apple Pay, and it's fine. So there is that. Not that you can't do that with others, but they're they're everywhere, and that's super helpful. I was in New Orleans. I needed an ATM for more cash. Perfect. So they're fine in that regards. I think they're just not, because as you said, they're so twitchy. They're just not the best. There definitely can be horror stories about it. So, but you could also say that about most banks, because all the banks operate on the same rules. Chase just again seems to be more sensitive. So, I would be fine opening a Chase account. Like, you just really got to ease your way into it, warm it up. A lot of times when I open accounts in branch, like I was at Fifth Third, the manager was like, "Hey, don't do mobile deposits the first 2 weeks because we're going to put a check hold on it." And she's just tired of people complaining that happens. Now, the bank doesn't tell you a lot of these rules, which is where the problem comes in at. But you get the point. Chase, yes, to your point, is a little bit more twitchy than others. So much so that I wouldn't really recommend people to bank with Chase deposit accounts for that reason. I just happen to for longevity, and I did a whole video on, like, it was the app that won me over when I was a youngster, and they were everywhere, which is still true, and now I'm just kind of there. But don't be like me, be better. So there you go. DJ, not a question, but a cautionary tale. Okay, I like tales. I recently bought an Amazon gift card at CVS, and it was tampered with. The last four digits on the claim code were partially scratched off, as well as the last two of the serial. Like, they whited over it. Luckily, I was able to guess all the digits from what was left, and the serial seemed to match. From now on, I'm peeling the cardboard off to make sure no tampering in front of the cashier. That is a good point. It's funny because I was buying Apple gift cards at Kroger for the iPhone, and you actually the machine, you scan it, and they say, actually, I was self checkout, and they had me open the cardboard, to your point, and scan the whole thing. So the Apple cards at least are doing that now. I hadn't had to do that in the past, but they had really designed it so the cashier could check it. I agree with you. I mean, I always grab gift cards from the back. I try to, and you got to look them over them, but it is a dangerous game. I think it happened to me on a Best Buy card, and like you, I was able to guess. But the problem is finding someone who will help you. Best Buy wants to make it the store's fault, like the store wants to make it Best Buy's fault. Like, you just get stuck in the middle, and no one's going to help you. So, fair enough, cautionary tale. I do understand a gift card game can be a little bit dangerous. All right, next up. If you had $1 million in non-category business spend, what credit cards would you use to maximize that? I mean, so if it's non-category, I mean, what? We're talking about, like, in a perfect world, we'd fast forward in a few months, and I'd have my U.S. bank card, and I could get 4x back off. It would be my answer. If you're looking for a business card, you're probably looking for the Wells Fargo Signify, which is 2x back on everything with no cap. I mean, the best you could do. I mean, I'm just going to want cash back, though, is the thing. So, I mean, this gets more interesting if you wanted, like, a bunch of travel points or MR points or something like that. I don't really want to be bothered with all those. So, for me, I'm going cash back. So, the only card I have right now would be my, Bank of America for 2.6x. If you really wanted to do it, you could, try Ink Cashes and buy. You could take all your category cards at 5x, start buying Visa reloads and pay it that way if you want to try to get 5x back. You hit off the supply stores pretty hard. That's probably the best one I can think of that comes to mind if you're not going after intro offers. But I mean, $1 million. That's probably how I would do it cash back wise, but it's probably more interesting if you're trying to do travel points. If I had to do travel points, then I'd probably want Marriott ones and Delta probably. Because I don't care about the value. At least I'm just not spending money. So those would be my chains. But that's how I would do it. I think just buying a ton of Visa gift. If I had to maximize it, it'd be through Visa reloads, even though I hate buying those now. Red Sox, can you make your public presidential endorsement? If you go Kamala, I'm unsubbing so you don't have to deal with me. Here's the deal. I won't make a public endorsement until I'm paid to do so, like, which no one's going to pay me. I just can't do it. Why don't you make a show, and then I come on the show and we'll break it down. I will come on your show. I'll even promote it. I will plug it in the community section if you make a show. The public endorsement, I should just be paid to make a public endorsement, man. Like, I'm not going to make one for free. If you want to make a prediction, I think your guy's going to win. I don't think it's going to be close. I think the Democrats pulling Biden while everyone can say that was the right move. I think it was the wrong move on the path to victory. I mean, one guy's a freaking felon, and if you can't beat him, then like that's a bad sign. So I think that's why your guy's gonna win. I don't think it'll be close either. People like to say one thing and do another publicly. So I'll make a prediction, but as far as public endorsement, you get your people to sit down and cut me the check, and I will wear the hat and everything. I'll wear either hat. That's the thing about me. I'll wear whatever hat. Whoever's paying the most, I will wear that hat. It makes no difference to me who really wins, because at the end of the day, I truly believe it's up to us how successful we are, how much money we have, and no one's going to help us do that no matter what color tie they wear. But if you can set it up and you can get us a sponsorship, I will happily read the script, my man, or just start your show. I would love to see it. Few left here. Rem here, he checks in a lot. So I'm not a big fan of free night certificates as they have a fixed expiration date. I'm not a fan either. I much rather prefer points that don't expire. I'm debating between getting the Marriott Bonvoy Boundless, that's the Chase one, right, versus the Brilliant, which is the Amex one. Both have points offers, 125 and 185K, instead of free night cert, so that gives me more time to use it. So I think you actually get, when you do the free night certs, I think you end up getting more, because it's like 5 for like 50 each or something, but our guy has his mind made up. So, I mean, I think the choice is, the Brilliant is about the Brilliant does have a reward cert on it. I think both of them do, but I think the Brilliant is like, can you get anything out of the status the Brilliant is going to give you, right? Like that's the biggest thing, because that's what that card is about. You're paying that $650 for that annual night, which you don't have to worry about in year number 2, and then the status that you get. So like, are you gonna like routinely stay at places for help? I mean, we're assuming a keeper card, I guess. So I mean, I guess, well, let's back up. I guess the answer is easy. If you can get stuff out of the credits, and hit the spend on the Brilliant, then the Brilliance is worth more money. I would just get the higher one. But, you got to be able to like, legitimately use the credits to offset that $650 annual fee. Like, that is huge. As far as the Chase one, the benefit there is, yeah, it's still a sizable offer, but you can probably get to the Ritz-Carlton card, which is probably the sweet spot of Marriott cards at $450 still. So I would look at it like that. I like the Brilliant card. I do. It's just so expensive that for me it makes it hard. But I don't objectively, I don't think it's a bad card. Again, if you get into keepers, like what do you value that status? What do you value the coupons at? Will you be able to pay down some of that $650? To be able to retain more of that $185, I think is the biggest question. Long term, it's about status, or the Marriott or the Chase plays getting to the Ritz-Carlton card would be my guess. You say you prefer more mid-range hotels like Fairfields. I mean, I do too. Although Marquis is probably my favorite Marriott brand because they always have like a full gym. Okay, so if you like more mid-range, I don't think the Brilliant's really going to help you. So then we're really talking about year number 1. Can you pay down enough of that annual fee in the credits to be able to retain a lot more of that 185? If you can, then go for the 185. I'm going to say status doesn't help you that much. They don't have lounges and stuff at the Fairfields. I've been to plenty. So that would be just look at that, see what you can do. If not, if you're like, I'm going to get this card, I'm going to take the $650 hit, and I'm not going to be able to use any of these credits, or it's going to be annoying me to no end, then you're probably just better off with the 125. Smaller annual fee, less of a headache type deal. That's how I would sum it up. Again, I like the Brilliant. It's just expensive. Vincent here, a few more. Has the reduction in interest rate by the Fed affected any future plans? That's a good question. Not immediately, no. So, I mean, I don't have any major purchases or anything like that on the horizon. For me, just get one out of the questions. There we go. I'm probably going to sit still for quite some time. The biggest transaction looking at would be to refinance this place. It's an FHA. It's like a 5.9%. So you got a little bit of ways to go before I could do a meaningful. I like to refi into a conventional. I did not know, even working in mortgage for so long, that you can't remove escrow off of an FHA deal like I have on the other houses. So I would like to be able to refinance this into a conventional, obviously lower rate. I do have concern. I mean, the property taxes here are going to go up, and they're still finishing parts of the neighborhood, and so they're probably going to come back and redo a reassessment. That's going to make everything go up. So my major thing would be refinancing. I think the biggest thing is, like, it's not the initial rate cut that's like super high. I know we got half a point, which is good, but that was, more so he's like, hey, I would have done it sooner if I had had the data earlier, so I'm kind of making up for it. It's more so that, like, rate cuts are starting, right? So the initial one, even half is pretty good. but it's more so that they're starting. And then, to your point, future plans, you kind of just want to keep an eye on it and see how much do they cut. So, you're talking about next spring, next summer, a few more cuts. You can get down to like a percentage or something, a lower percent, a full percent down. Then, like, yeah, absolutely. But refinance would really be, I'm not really looking to buy. I mean, my goal actually is going to be to pay off this thing, which I know is a highly controversial topic, but most of I know like a handful, like 2 or 3, like everyday millionaires. And like, that's the thing, is they've got paid for houses. And, understand we can debate that all day long, which is not really the point of your question. I'm just making it into that. For me, the value of a paid off house is like that level of like, freedom's a strong word, but yeah, it does open up a lot more avenues. So that's my overall goal. Refinance would help with that for sure. So that's all I'm hoping for. One house is a 2.3%. That thing's never getting refinanced. I can't imagine. Well, not for many, many years, so there's like nothing left on it. The other one's a 3.9, same thing. Probably not going to get refinanced too much. So the refinance would be the main deal of it. Good question though. New again. Which issuer do you hope for next to make a reward program like Bank of America and U.S. Bank smartly? And what tweaks would you like to see? And do you think Bank of America will increase their multipliers because of U.S. Bank? Nope, don't think Bank of America cares in the slightest bit. I don't think they will. And really, they don't have to for quite some time, because U.S. Bank is just starting out, and Bank of America's preferred rewards applies to the whole program, right? Just about all their products. So you're beating me on one card, I'm beating you on everything else today. Give the bank, I've said it before, give U.S. Bank some time to get going and get ramped up. That could change entirely, but I don't right now. For the foreseeable future, I think Bank of America is fine. I've always thought Citi would do it. I mean, Chase, it doesn't really have to. I always thought Citi, because their bonuses are structured like, just give us more money and we will give you, we'll give you the bonus. Don't mess around with the debit cards and things like that. Citi generally seems to like higher tier customers, value-wise, money-wise. So, I mean, there's not really a bank out. I mean, because I'm fine getting different products from different places. Even with Bank of America, I don't do that much stuff. So, I mean, it's kind of tough because, even with preferred rewards, that they're not going to beat an Ally checking account or an Ally savings account, right? So, if we're really just hoping for credit card boosts, honestly, because we're fine to shop around for other products. I've always thought Citi would do it. What tweaks would I like to see? For Bank of America, I think they need to bolster their multipliers a little bit, to your point. I think it should be close to 6% at the highest level. The unlimited cash should be 3%. I also think that they should make it simpler to understand. Effectively, it does work, right? Multiplying percentages together, but most people don't talk like that or do math like that in their head. So for them to say, it's 75% boost, there's a lot of people who look at it like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get 75% savings APY or something like that, which is not the case. So I think they write it confusing on purpose. I also think they could look at making personal and business one. Like, I don't know why. I mean, 100 grand is a lot of big commitment. I mean, I guess the concern would be, that it's easy. It might be easier to hit that with a business, so you'd be giving it away for free on the other side. But again, that's just making me want to bring up more business to you anyways. I think they could look at something like that. But simplification, and then I'll say it every time, they need a high yield savings product. They're not going to, but I would like to see them add one of those in there for sure. And then overall, I mean, it would really just be user interface tweaks that just suck less, right? Their app is getting better. It is getting better. It's not great. Their desktop version, which I do most stuff on desktop, is definitely not great. It's definitely lacking. So can you just upgrade? So that will never happen. But I would prefer to see changes like that. Like, can we get secured message? Can we get chat? Things like that. Can preferred rewards actually get its own phone number to call like it claims it does, but it's kind of the same phone number? So I would like to see changes like that, but I don't think those are really going to happen. But I hope so. Competition is good, so we will see. But yeah, I just don't think they care enough, unfortunately. Brady Smith, channel member, nice logo next to his name. What's up, man? We struck out in New Orleans with the females. Did we or did you? I don't remember. I'm just kidding. We did not. It's funny because we were trying to find the group, and I looked up, and there was like one group with like a woman or two, and there's one group of all dudes. I'm like, well, I know which group it's not. It's definitely the credit card people. What's the new strategy going forward? I mean, the strategy, I think, is you just acquire all the high yield accounts. You're like, now I'm preferred rewards, platinum honors, and I'm smartly whatever the top tier is, right? And just impress them that way, right? And maybe you just get to 100,000 subscribers and tell them I'm on TV and I'm famous. I can say I'm on TV, but does anyone watch, right? Not helpful. So we just double down on that, sir. Just double down on that. And then you can tell people that you know me and I will vouch for you and we'll just crush it. That's a plan if there ever was one, right? I think it is. All right, Doc says, which card do you think Amex will update next, personal or business? It's personal. I mean, I'm not going to deviate too much. I think it's going to be the platinum. I think it's going to be the platinum because they're going to have to do something about this Delta Sky Club thing, right? Like removing Delta Sky Club unlimited access hurts the card, even though it doesn't really, I believe, impact a lot of people the way you would think. It hurts because it used to be unlimited. Now you're taking it away from me, where I used to get something, now I'm getting nothing or getting significantly less. So I think the only way that goes over is with a refresh. If not, it feels like you're taking too much for a $700 card. That's why I think it has to be the platinum. Plus, we've seen the gold move up, which means your flagship usually has to move up as well. I think that's what they do next. Maybe something they've kind of done the other ones, so I do think it's going to be the platinum. The business platinum might end up mirroring the personal as it does today, but I would think it has to be platinum for those reasons because it's just. It hurts too much. You're killing the dream. The dream has always been I can get into the lounge however times I want, whenever I want, and you're taking it away and it still costs $700. So, I mean, it's not going to be anything we like, but I do think it's going to be the platinum card will be the next one to refresh sometime next year. Seems like we're about due. All right, next up, we just have a home purchase here. Just bought a house. Closing attorney said to wait to get a new credit card. Is there any reason they would say that? I can't think of any. You closed everything. I mean, maybe they're worried about waiting like 2 or 3 days till the transaction's actually recorded with the county. That's kind of what actually transfers ownership, even though, money in keys Shane's hand. It's funny, but it's also kind of meaningless until they actually record it on the county level. That takes about, 2 or 3 days if they're not a county that has e-recording options, electronic recording options. But I don't see why you'd have to wait. I think I applied for cards like the same day as I closed, which is probably a bit much, but you think it takes a day or two to get the documents. No, the documents are usually next day shipped to the title company or the lender. So, I mean, if you wanted to play it super safe, you could wait a few days, no more than but I don't know. He just said just wait. I mean, I think that people in the transaction get concerned that you're going to end up messing up their money or anything, but you have to pay him no matter what. So, I mean, I don't think you have to wait for anything. Being in the mortgage, I mean, once you're closed and everything's signed, they're not going to unwind the transaction. I guess, again, to be safe, you could wait a handful of days, no more than a week, but I don't even really see the point of that. Next day or two would be fine. They stop monitoring your credit shortly after because it costs them money. So, I'd be interested why he said that or what his rationale was, other than it's probably just one, it's usually doesn't really affect most people anyways. They're not really trying to apply for cards, and it's just one of those ads. It's easier to tell you the safe thing than something randomly go wrong and it'd be my fault. That's my guess, but I'm pretty sure I applied for a card like this next day, maybe even the same day, honestly, with no issues. So I think you're good. Snark. RJ, predictions for how the House of Diamond would change the Apple Card portfolio if they're able to strike a deal with Apple and Goldman Sachs. Do you think Chase would keep the high yield savings account? It's funny because in reality, you're watching this a week in the future, but I actually just got done talking about this and taping the Sunday show, past Sunday for you. So, I mean, I don't think the underlying card itself changes. I mean, the hope would be they bump it up to 4x back at Apple to match what the other co-branded cards Chase issuers have, the Instacart, the DoorDash, the Amazons at 5. But the underlying card, I think it remains the same. Changes that Chase would want to see is probably more so how they handle the card. That billing cycles all starting and ending and the start and the end of the month. That's got to go. Maybe they reevaluate how much credit limit they're giving out to people. Remove some of it. The fees, probably not so much an annual fee, but I think they're going to want to, be better and more aggressive at collecting fees if people have late payments and things like that. They're going to want to run it like a credit card program, and I think Chase would be right because Amazon, DoorDash, Instacart, Delta, or United, all those guys, Marriott, they're fine with how Chase runs their card portfolio. So Apple should be fine with it. I think Apple will start to get along with it because Apple's in this new era of like, I just want all the money. I mean, we're seeing Apple do things they would have done, mentioning more and more partners on stage, which means phone carrier deals for trade-ins. They're shipping phones that are like not really complete. Like the phone's complete, but the whole gist of the new iPhone was Apple Intelligence, which didn't ship at launch, which is, a thing that's starting to trend more for them now is where before I think they would die on these hills of customer experience over everything. Now I think they're more willing to make trade-offs, and I think that's why they will end up going with Chase because Chase can bring them the most money. Will they take the high yield account? I feel like it would just make Chase sick to their stomach if they took the high yield account. It's not really, I don't think it really be that hard, but I don't think they're going to want to do it because then it's really just like a Chase account. Like you could, move other customers to it, but they just don't want to do that. So I think they're going to try to get out of that part of it for sure. Other things, I think the daily cash will have to go because it's almost insignificant. It sounds good in theory to get your cash paid to you daily, but it's meaningless. Most people aren't making that much money in one day on cash back for it to be a significant amount of money. So I think it'll just be run like a regular credit card program. And in exchange, Apple will get with the biggest bank in the country. And maybe Apple says, hey, look, I'll put some banners up in the branches for you. Hey, you do a lot of business stuff. Maybe I could take a look at some of these warehouse lines for you, perhaps. Things like that. They get you in more customers, but Chase is going to want to be able to cross sell. And I think Apple really at this point just wants the money to say their services revenue is up even higher. So I do think it'll happen. I don't think the card changes much. I do think there'll be changes to the card program. And it will fall more in line with a regular credit card program, maybe with some concessions because it still is a top marquee brand. And Chase does gain something from getting it and having Amazon under the house as well. So I don't think they'll lose everything being Apple, but I do think Apple, this new form of Apple, is just ready to like, hey, give me all the money you can get me, whatever to the rest of it. Is where in 2018 when this card came out or whatever it was, that was not the case. So those are the changes, but I don't think we'll see a better card again. Maybe 4X back at Apple, maybe a tie-in to like the Chase. Maybe the cross-selling would be going through the Chase shopping portal because you can use Ultimate Reward points to buy Apple stuff. Maybe you can get a little bit of an Apple Cash boost if you go through the Chase portal to buy Apple stuff. Maybe that would be hopeful, but I don't think we're going to see anything crazy on the Chase side, unfortunately. Abduali here, who I met in New Orleans, proud channel member. Plug the profitable content and channel memberships. He is a channel member. We can tell by the logo, by his name. So channel memberships is a Discord server. Thank you, sir. Shared between this channel and Run on the Bank, the second channel. You join which on everyone is your favorite. $5 a month, cancel anytime. And the gist of it is assembling the best bonus hunters in the country to find offers, find news stories, and of course refer each other. We use each other's referral links, and then we use referral links in videos and blog posts as well as members. Then the member gets to keep all that money. The gist of it being that your membership would at least be paid for through the end of the year, and anything else you get after that will be extra, but there's no earning cap again, so you can make as much as you want, make your friends in the group, refer people, all that good stuff. So it's definitely a good time. It's a way to put those referral links to good use that we all get. Definitely more so on the bank promotion side and the credit card side because we all kind of have the same credit cards. But it's definitely a good time. We're a little over 80 members strong over there. Again, we talk about all sorts of stuff, including Apple stuff, news stories, what do we think they're going to do. So it's definitely a good time. We'd love to see you over there. So you are interested, the join button down below will tell you more. Of course, thank you, sir, for the shameless plug and being a member yourself. 50 grand. It's me, Frank from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. What's up? Donald Trump's out. Here we go again. We just really want to offend people, don't we? Donald Trump said if he were elected president, he would put a cap on credit card interest rates. Just for the sake of conversation, if he were able to pass this into law, in your experience, what would the credit card company's response be? So they cap interest. I mean, there is no cap, but like generally the rates seem to kind of almost self-impose cap around like, was it 29.9% or something? They can go as high as they want. So if he put a cap on it, I don't necessarily think you limit credit limit because credit limit is about risk. So interest is about like profitability. Maybe a little bit of risk because the interest rate can incentivize people to pay it back because they kind of want you again to be in the middle of like, paying it, but not all the way paying it back. They had to make up for the fees somewhere else. It would probably be, they're in a huge battle with merchants and processors over processing fees. So I don't know if you go that route and try to reclaim more of the processing fee. So you're probably looking at higher fees or lower rates, right? Like maybe you see more. You could also maybe even see more tie-ins to bank accounts, like how U.S. Bank, if you have certain credit cards, it makes their credit cards for their bank products free. You could see more of that because again, the fees don't have to hit on the same product, right? You could sell multiple products. You can spread this around. I think you see fees on deposit accounts get a little bit higher, or the requirements to keep them fee free get higher. I think the credit cards you could see stifled innovation. We're right at this point where it seems like we might be ready to push into the 3% card. I mean, we've got again the Robinhood card, we've got U.S. Bank doing 4%. Sure, it's with requirements, but we seem to be like in this new on the edge of the new wave of next highs multipliers. Wells Fargo Business Signify doing 2% business card uncapped. It sounds like a little, but it's a lot for business. So I think you see stifling of that, and they're going to have to get their money from elsewhere. So I think they saddle it on to give us more of your money to avoid fees. I think they could even maybe put transactional requirements on cards, kind of like Built does. Or then the stifling of innovation. I think anything in that realm would be possible. I think the spotlight's too much on processing. I know the processing fees come from the Visa and MasterCard, but Chase also gets a cut of that too. So would they go, or the bank, not just Chase, would they go and say, hey, I need more of the processing fee? I don't think so, because it's still widely contested, which again just leaves the customers to front the bill on that. So yeah, I think something would happen. That would be my guess. Those would be some of their options. I don't think they just start slapping annual fees on no annual fee cards. That would be too much for the average person. The average person doesn't know annual fees on cards exist, but I think there's other ways to get their fees, and those would be some of the ways I think they'd come up with. So let's hope it doesn't happen. Two more. KC here. Is there any way to make Citi less sensitive to flagging purchases potential fraud? It seems like anytime I make a purchase online, over the phone, or in person, overseas, the Strata Premier, AAA, or AA, enter gets the phone call, the PIN, that whole thing. No, probably not. It's a robot that does it. So you can call and you can talk about it. Like I've called Chase in the past because I kept getting declined for buying $500 gift cards at the grocery store. I talked to them and we went through every single Freedom card. And they said, yeah, we can remove the hold. Like this won't happen again. And sure enough, it happened again. It's not a person looking at it. It's a robot. It's an algorithm. So the chance that you're going to get to talk to someone who actually knows how to do that. Now, if you're going overseas and stuff like that, that should be a phone call. That I would think they could do something about going overseas and traveling. But for whatever reason, well, we know why. I don't know why they're doing it to you. I only use my Citi card. I don't use my Citi cards too much, but I think you call and try to see what they say the options are if you haven't already. The travel should be doable. That's a common thing. I think there's even an option in the menu sometimes to say, hey, report you're traveling, out of the country, because that is a common thing. The other ones though, I mean, I hate to say it, I just don't think there is, because there's a robot doing it, and I've at least tried it, Chase myself, and they swore up and down it wouldn't happen, and then 20 minutes later it happened again. So I feel like that would probably be a response, but you could at least be able to call and talk to someone and get them to try to note the account, maybe do something. But I wouldn't put too much hope into it. In the bank's eyes, they're looking out for you, but more importantly, they're looking out for themselves. And one annoyed customer is much easier to have to deal with. You run the transaction again versus now I've got a chargeback situation and all that. So unfortunately, they're protecting themselves for whatever reason in the form of annoying you. So that's not a good answer, but no, my experience. I've tried, but it hasn't really netted to anything, unfortunately. So if anyone does know, let us know down below. Sean Credit, next up. Barclays may be in trouble. There is talk about Citi getting a exclusivity. Where would that put Barclays? I think Barclays could be so much more, but they keep kicking the can down the road with a niche name. I do think I don't think this actually hurts Barclays that much, because Barclays, as we've said, is the junk drawer of credit cards. And Barclays' game is clearly, well, we'll just partner with everyone left over who wants a co-branded card, and we'll just get customers that way. We'll just get swipe fees and interest payments that way. We're not even going to try to sell our own product. You'd think they would sell their own cards. They pay money here, the Barclays Center. You can still get bank accounts. They had a savings bonus here. I do think they should try to do more, but I mean, it's probably it's the same thing like Synchrony does. Like, whatever, you need money, slap our little logo on it, and you will get customers that way. So I don't think losing AA hurts them that much. Isn't like JetBlue and like Wyndham probably like their marquee brands, but they've got a bunch of random stuff like they have like Cabela's maybe or Barnes and Noble or something. I can't remember. They've got a bunch of random stuff, hence the trunk drawer. I do think they should get back into it. Or they should get back into offering like not premieres as far as costly, but like Uber needs a new home. I think Uber might have been with Barclays or something before, but go after those companies who still need cards would be marquee and you could make good cards from. Maybe just don't hang out in the junk drawer of things. So I don't, because of their business model, I don't know that they're in trouble because their business model is just like, I don't know, we'll just partner with whoever, no big deal. Again, they have American through, it was like an old merger, wasn't it? It's kind of the same thing how Chase and Amex split Marriott now because of a merger. So I don't think it'll hurt them because they don't think they care. I agree with you. They could be so much more. There's always potential there. They just don't really seem interested in it at all. They don't do that much over here stateside. Not really sure why. I don't have a good answer for you, but I do agree. Because we could play around with create cards, but the cards we're going to come up with are going to be the cards all the other issuers have. So maybe to one of the earlier questions, maybe Barclays should explore being, like Bank of America or U.S. Bank, because again, they, overseas, I think they are more of a little bit of an investment bank than anything else. So they could be a prime candidate for that. But hey, we have basic cashback cards or basic travel cards, but if you give us more money, use our brokerage services, well, here you go. Now you've got better rewards. They could fit into that model too, but that would require them to care. And I think they're making plenty of money on just issuing other people's cards. So don't see that coming. But there you go. It was a good question. We don't talk about Barclays often, so I appreciate it. So those are all your questions answered. So if you need more information, let us know down below. If we didn't answer something you want to follow up, by all means. But of course, if you like this one, drop me a thumbs up down below. If you found it particularly interesting, consider subscribing to the channel, because we're posting content just like this every single week. And of course, we're right back every Sunday with all the news you can use in the week that was in credit and finance. And of course, every single day over on ProfitfulContent.com, which is the channel's blog, which is always linked down below for you. And on the homepage, we have news stories. We have bank promotions if you want to get started. We talked about those a lot. And we have credit card offers as well. Nothing from Barclays, but if they try, maybe one day. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for writing in. Hopefully everyone's a little bit less offended than they were last time, but again, we answer every question. So anyways, thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll talk to you very soon in the next one.